Hi, everybody. This is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and you're listening to October's horoscopes. This is the sun sign horoscope for Sagittarius. Now, you can listen to this horoscope if you're a sun sign Sagittarius or if you're a rising sign Sagittarius. Some people even listen if they are a moon sign in Sagittarius. So you have some flexibility there. What's this month all about? Well, the month really gets started on the 2nd, tomorrow, and that is let me annotate this. That will feature, here we go. Where is my drawer? Here we go. So that will feature a square between Mercury in Libra and Pluto in Capricorn from your 11th to 2nd house. So the 11th house, the house of friends, 2nd house in groups. 2nd house is a house that's related to money, finances, and resources. Mercury square Pluto may have to do with communication dynamics within groups of friends, in social circles, groups or organizations that you belong to, perhaps also in relation to business, money, finances, value conflicts within groups or friendships. There can be opportunities for collaboration professionally that may provide interesting financial opportunities. You're also looking at a time where the quality of mind, speech, and communication, Mercury, is going to be deep, profound, intense, transformational, subversive, taboo. This is due to the square to Pluto, Lord of the underworld and Lord of death and rebirth. And so there's also the potential to speak about what's real with your friends or within groups or organizations, to address things that really you feel like need to be addressed that reflect some deeper conflict of values or some deeper tension or that exists. Also, with the 2nd house, you're thinking of things that you are in possession of. And so what do you have that other people want or are trying to get from you? Or what are you trying to get from other people? Is it a good idea? Is someone being used? Are you being used? These kinds of questions could be in the air a little bit as well. But otherwise, it definitely has the potential to be, getting to the bottom of things in terms of learning and writing and communicating, and you're in communication and relationships and get to the bottom of things really pretty quickly. Now, this all is sort of a prelude to the big transit of the month, which starts on October 6th, and that is Venus's retrograde in Scorpio in your 12th house. Now, Venus's retrograde in Scorpio in your 12th house is going to be lasting all month long, and it's an interesting moment for Sagittarians because next month Jupiter is going to pop into your home sign, and it'll be in your home sign and house for a year. So you're kind of on the verge of potentially a very big personal moment of takeoff, new beginnings, excitement, enthusiasm, personal growth, and expansion. That's all coming next month, lasts for a year. Scorpios have had that for the past year. Right now it's about to be Sagittarians. A return of light, hope, adventure, optimism. It's an exciting transit that's coming. Well, it's interesting then that as that transit is culminating in the month of October, Venus is doing this deep retrograde in your 12th house. It kind of feels like the grand finale of Jupiter having been in your 12th house for the past year. The 12th house is, of course, a place where we look at our shadows, where we may need greater solitude or aloneness, or we feel lonely, or we feel like we've been kicked out, or we have lost our place, or we've been doing a little bit of wandering. We've been seeking, but not necessarily finding. The 12th house, of course, is also related to loss, impermanence, grief, suffering, health problems. Interesting that you've been experiencing growth in the past year, but you've been kind of in the cocoon, like going through these deep internal changes. And Venus retrograde over the course of this month is signaling that there's more of that to come. And this may have something to do with your allies or enemies. Who are your friends? Who aren't your friends? Be very careful of gossip and drama and backstabbing and that kind of stuff with Venus in the 12th retrograde. But also within organizations or groups or social circles, don't be surprised if people around you are going through difficult stuff and you're sort of bearing witness to it. Maybe you have some deeper insight or knowledge to share with the people around you this month. Venus retrograde in the 12th is also potentially about the deeper inner work of romantic relationships, the potential to, for letting go, surrendering, loss, saying goodbye. That is there a little bit with Venus, in the 12th right now. So big month ahead with Venus retrograde in your 12th house. Potential for some very deep healing. And my sense is that whatever you're going through, by next month, all of this will have been prep for some kind of big season of personal expansion that's right on the doorstep, about to knock on the door and come into your first house next month. So from there, the month continues with a new moon in Libra in your 11th house, also once again highlighting the place of friends, groups, organizations. Venus, the ruler, retrograde in the 12th, maybe some challenges or changes within groups or organizations. Your long-term visions, goals, plans, and dreams could also be changing this month quite significantly, as the 11th house was traditionally the house of dreams, wishes, and hopes for the future. And the ruling planet of that house, Venus, is retrograde in the 12th, letting go of things that are no longer working or that don't really match or align with you any longer. This isn't my vision for the future anymore. I want to do something different. Venus retrograde in the 12th with this new moon in the 11th also suggests newness within groups, friends, or social circles, organizations, your long-term dreams, wishes, or goals. So that comes through that new moon on October 8th. Now we go to October 10th. Things get really busy between the 10th and the 11th. First of all, Mercury will be opposing Uranus across the 12th, 6th house axis. It's an important moment for potentially for your career, for your professional life, for your relationships, where speaking the truth, needing to challenge norms, break out of old habits, invent, inspire, or be inspired, have some kind of mental or communicative breakthrough. All of these things are pronounced as the god of the mind opposes the god of rebellion, defiance, invention, and originality. And sort of the two are going to have to work out something together. And often the way that happens is your mind is challenged by something or wants to challenge something, and there wants to solve a problem, and there's some inventive or original way of doing so where you have to challenge some kind of convention or norm. Now, Mercury rules your career house and your 7th house of love and relationships. So this could involve your career, professional dynamics in the workplace. It could involve your relationships, your intimate partnerships. It could also involve things like learning and technology. You could be learning something new, or again, have some kind of mental or intellectual breakthrough. So that is on the exact same day happening as Venus is squaring Mars in your 3rd house. So it's very similar energy, because the 3rd house is also the house of the mind. It's a house that's related to the mind, also siblings and neighbors and short journeys or travel, kind of your immediate environment. And Venus in the 12th retrograde, still working on relationships and, looking at your long-term dreams and different groups of people that you belong to or friends and stuff like that. But here, Venus square Mars in the 3rd, it's about facing and dealing with things mentally, verbally. You might want to write or communicate something. You're thinking about learning or studying something, going really deep into the space of learning something. You're also thinking maybe Venus square Mars, there's some sexual tension and what we hide, what we say, what we don't say in relationships, to keep the peace, to work through something together. You may need to confront someone, and so it's a tricky space. Mars and Venus bring up the need for both harmony and conflict. In relationships, obviously we can't have harmony all the time. Sometimes we have to sort of offend each other and sort of, be assertive and direct and confront one another. But at the same time, Venus represents the need for harmony, love, friendship, beauty, etc. So these two things are really trying to figure each other out right now in a space that's very mental, intellectual, communicative, etc. All right, so that's on the 10th. Now, as if that's not enough, on the 11th, then you see the Sun in Libra moving into a square with Pluto and Capricorn from the 11th to the 2nd. Same energy as the Mercury square Pluto dynamic that started the month on October 2nd. So again, friends, groups, organizations, people in charge, leaders, community leaders, subject of men or people who are in power, and some challenges to them, some theme of death and rebirth around community, friends, allies, or people who are in charge of things. And then you have also the theme of finances, values, business, resources, money. These things, these themes are in a real tense dynamic. But the Sun-Pluto square has the ability to be, you can have a kind of awakening. The Sun is sort of associated with enlightenment, and Pluto, death and rebirth. So some deeper level of understanding or some kind of illumination or insight or something that's revealed or exposed, and you go, oh, that's the truth. That's what the truth actually is. And this could have something, again, to do with your money, your finances, your time, your energy, your resources, how you spend those things, what you need or desire, materially speaking, and then groups of people, friends, organizations, your vision of the future. As truth is coming to the surface, all of these things could be shifting. Especially, again, with Venus retrograde in the 12th, you're thinking, this is a month where, whatever kinds of deep value shifts that need to be made, they may involve some letting go and some, being exposed to some deeper levels of stuff. Might be a little uncomfortable to deal with. But that's the nature of this month with Venus in Scorpio. All right, so next one is on October 19th. You're going to see Mercury in Scorpio square to Mars in Aquarius, same kind of energy. It's very potentially mentally combative or confrontational, but also for the sake of learning or communicating, sharpening skills, deepening knowledge, communicating or reflecting on a very deep level, being able to address things that are difficult, but also do it in a constructive way. All of that really pronounced, especially, again, Mercury in the third house, both have relation to the mind, communication, speech, media, writing, learning, teaching, thinking, things maybe with siblings, neighbors, your immediate environment. But you also should be careful of a more mentally sort of combustible quality at this time, October 19th, because Mercury square Mars can also be just incredibly, almost like a symbolic picture of verbal or mental abuse, emotional/mental verbal abuse. So you be very careful of a more combative quality in the mind around this time as well. Now, last but not least, the grand finale of the month takes place as the full moon in Taurus opposes Venus retrograde. The full moon in Taurus also conjoined with Uranus across the 6th and 12th house. These are difficult changes. The 6th and 12th house were traditionally two very difficult houses that had to do with sickness, loss, opposition, surrender, solitude, loneliness, abandonment, wandering, slavery, war. I mean, like, these two houses traditionally were very, very difficult. However, they also involve the themes of being in service to others, charity work, compassion, sort of practical, putting something to practical use in the world, and also the theme of going inward in order to find connection to something beyond the obvious, impermanence of the world. So this month for you is, again, it's sort of a culmination of a lot of tension that is leading to a significant personal reset that's happening next month. And the end of the month, this full moon really shows that tension between the 6th and 12th house. It can be a challenging time for health. It can be a challenging time for relationships, a time of confrontation. That's all month. You can hear me saying this over and over again, but it's literally like every stage of the month, it has that kind of confrontational theme, especially in relationships. That's due to Venus being retrograde in a Mars-ruled sign in your 12th house. If it's time to let go of things, it's time. If it's time to make departures or sudden changes, or there's unexpected events that happen that flip your script, then it's time. Just know that at the start, pretty early on next month, Jupiter popping into Sagittarius, very exciting time. For you personally, in your home sign for a whole year, you're on the precipice. Whatever difficulties might be here this month, again, final word, next month, Jupiter in your first house, you'll really be taking off. So I hope this has been interesting for you, Sagittarius. I'd love to hear from you guys and hear how your month goes. Please add stories or comments on the feed and keep coming back to this throughout the month, and check back in and see, track your progress, and share your stories. Okay, I hope you guys have a great month, and we will see you next month for November's horoscope. Take care. Bye.